We all contain magic. The question is, how do you contain your magic?
It connects you to one. Hold the hand of bliss once more until the story's done.
Containing your magic isn't about holding back. It's about holding space for vitality, creativity, and alchemy. It's about learning to nurture what fuels you and to release what no longer serves you, so there's more room for you to be you. Your magic is only as powerful as your ability to hold it, to focus it, and to own it. Through conversations, stories, and reflections, this podcast delves into mind-body wisdom, yoga, somatic practices, and self-care as pathways for deep, lasting transformation. Each episode is an invitation to tune in to the pulse of your own magic, to trust it, to honor it, and let it move through you in ways that heal, create, and ignite your fire without burning out. I'm your host, Sonia Baillon. I'm a transformational coach, yoga educator, singer, and embodied alchemist. Mind-body wisdom, intuition, freedom, creative expression, love, and joy are my guides. Sprinkle that with a dose of healthy discipline, and you've got my magic recipe for success. I'm here with you today to share the stories, the practices, and the awakenings that truly contain her magic. Let's begin. Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to Contain Her Magic. This is episode 5, Falling into Grace, How Gratitude and Setbacks Can Help You to Contain Your Magic. Before we begin today, I want to take a moment to ground in gratitude. So let's take a deep breath together and just for a moment, think about what are you grateful for? For me, it's this podcast. I mean, I have many, many personal things to be grateful for, but certainly having gotten this far to the 5th episode and seeing the result, both for myself and in the comments that I've received from people, I must say I'm truly, truly grateful for this podcast and for the women who've shared their stories, the people I've interviewed, and for you for listening, reflecting, and adding your own light to this space. Gratitude is alchemy. So let me explain that. Gratitude happens sometimes spontaneously, and sometimes we have to cultivate it. It's what turns ordinary moments into medicine. And no matter what's happening around us, gratitude keeps us on the right side of things. It keeps us in the light and keeps us holding the light on the inside. So today we're going to explore how transformation begins, not when everything's perfect, but when we choose gratitude in the middle of it all. Sometimes when life goes haywire, things turn upside down, it's difficult to feel that gratitude and to feel like you are in the right place or the right space. Sometimes we feel like we're beside ourselves, but that is exactly the moment where we need to stop, to breathe, to listen, and to recenter ourselves in gratitude. So even when life quite literally knocks us down, gratitude is the way home. Let me tell you a little story and where this is all coming from. Not long ago, actually it was the day after my birthday, I slipped going down my stairs outside. And it was a day where the weather was just shifting, where I'm in Canada, I'm near Montreal, Quebec, and, we get some pretty back and forth weather through December, and it rained in the morning and then started to snow in the afternoon. So I went out to my back porch and I have steps leading out to the backyard and I needed to go do something. So I walked out in my mind going, it's wet. But in fact, it was just turning to ice. And I took the first top step and I slipped. I landed flat on my butt and I got whacked on every step on the way down. So it was quite shocking. I'm generally fairly sure-footed and pretty careful. So this really caught me off guard. It was very painful, but I got up, I managed to walk back in the house, and so be it. So I've been dealing with it and am still dealing with this injury that's turned into, well, if we're being honest, I have a great big lumpy, bumpy bum right now, and I'm told that it will run its course and hopefully it'll be okay. But in the meantime, it's left me quite obviously reflecting on, what any of this could be doing in my life right now. Why did this show up? A lot of times things happen. It's an accident. You don't really think about it too much. You say, well, that's life. But I'm a person that tends to reflect on things. So initially I was just like, oh yeah, well, it was slippery. I slipped. That's it. But I feel like because of the challenges that it's brought me in the last couple of weeks, because I'm a very active person, it's slowed me down. It's made me uncomfortable in certain situations that normally I would be comfortable. It's made me start to look at myself differently again. So, there's always growth to be found in painful situations. So that's what I'm trying to get out of this. Even though sometimes, of course, I'll wake up and like everyone else, I'm thinking, when is this going to go away? I'm really tired of feeling this way. It's a real bummer, but here I am today talking about it because I think maybe if I'm feeling this way, then there might be somebody else out there who also has had something like this happen, or of course, worse. I mean, what I've got going on is pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, but still it's given me an opportunity to reflect. So yeah, gratitude, back to gratitude. When I look at what happened, I'm super grateful for the fact that I have a strong body. Because looking at my bruising pattern that I had, if I didn't have strong back muscles on either side of my spine or my glute muscles weren't strong, I could have seriously injured myself. Luckily, absolutely no broken bones, no sprains, just this bump, this hematoma that I'm dealing with. But it could have been so much worse. And everybody said it as well, So I'm so grateful for the body that I have, that I've cultivated, that my muscles are strong, that I have resilience, and I know that I have an ability to heal because I'm generally in good shape. But the fall made me pause, as I said. I mean, you fall like that, you can't keep doing everything that you would normally do. It slowed me down long enough to notice the deeper layers that I know of myself, but don't always come to the surface when they're not challenged, like impatience and frustration and even grief for the times where maybe I've pushed through pain instead of pausing. And also for the grief of saying, oh, well, now I have to reorganize my life, how I move, how I do things, the kinds of activities that I'll be engaging in this winter. So for me, my mental health and my emotional health are very strongly linked to my physical well-being. And I want to get into that because it's one of the core concepts that I teach in my mind-body coaching. And that is the idea that your body, your mind, and your emotions are all containers. And when one container takes a hit, if the other two containers are strong, then they can help to support you through that and through your healing process. And, I find that my physical strength has helped me in times where emotionally I might have been down or mentally I might have been a little bit more weak. So now I'm on the flip side of it where I'm looking to my mental and my emotional strength to hold me through something that is more of a physical limitation. So if you're dealing with anything like that right now, I invite you to do the same kind of exercise and see if there are aspects of one of those containers that is there for you, that can hold you in times of crisis or in times of trauma or in simply times of change. I think maybe what my body was saying to me was to slow down, to care for myself. And regardless of whether that's true or not, I mean, I had to. So, you can be in denial or push back against what is, but truly, I think that there is something more powerful in surrendering to the idea of now I must rest, whether I like it or not. Now it's time for me to heal. And so I'm really grateful for that. And because sometimes that is a thing that we do as women. We in the last episode that I had with Shelley Mays, she was talking about how women try to do it all and how to contain your magic is a way of saying, I am going to give the energy that I need to a situation, but not overgive, that I need to keep some for me. So this has been a lesson for me that I need to keep this energy for my healing. And I have been doing an awful lot of sleeping lately. It's the time of year, but it's also what my body's been asking for because I'm in a healing process. And so for that, I am grateful because who knows what other things go along with that. Perhaps there are other aspects of my physiology or my mental emotional spheres that also need that rest. So I'm going with it. I've decided to surrender to it. I'm still going for walks. I'm being active. I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm accepting what is. So being grateful in the face of something unpleasant is one way of moving forward without pushing, without being against the flow. So it turns even a fall like I've had into a teacher when you bring gratitude into the picture. Transformation begins with gratitude because it's the energy of gratitude. It's that emotion, that frequency that we cultivate when we cultivate a practice of gratitude that becomes our antenna. It's what we broadcast out into the world, and it's what we broadcast to ourselves. So it's a message that helps to bring more gratitude into our lives. The more grateful we are for the little things, the small things, even if we feel that there aren't a lot of things that we can be grateful for, we can always find something. If it's just the fact of being alive and breathing in and breathing out. So when we begin with gratitude, then this energy and this frequency feeds us, and it then begins to transform how we think, how we feel, and our frequency, our signature changes, and therefore we attract different situations, we attract people, places, things, experiences that are in line with that frequency. And I just want to go back into the idea of the spheres. So the mental, emotional, and the physical spheres are containers. They are really sacred vessels that hold our life force. When one cracks, the other one will feel it. When one overflows, the others will hopefully hold the balance, but sometimes strain to keep balance. And I think that's why it's so important to approach your health and wellness in a holistic way and to feed yourself both emotionally, mentally, and of course, physically. Healing physically can open up emotional wounds. Emotional release can clear mental fog, and every part of us is in conversation. So I guess it opens up a conversation that maybe we otherwise wouldn't have had. And that's evolution, that's growth. Containing your magic isn't about holding back. It's about holding yourself well. So I talk about that a lot, right? And you're only as strong as your ability to hold that power and hold that magic. But then what happens when you're not feeling it, when you feel like it's leaking out? Well, then it's time to resource, to refuel, to fill yourself back up. And if that means rest, take your rest. Just in like the episode regarding Nixon. In episode 3, when I was in the Netherlands and I interviewed the Dutch, doing nothing, just being, just chilling out can be very therapeutic and very beneficial. It's not what we do all the time, but having a dose of that in our daily routine or our weekly rituals really can be helpful. So that is another way that you can refill your cup. And of course, nutrition. That came up in a couple of the previous podcast episodes. In episode 2, in the Wisdom of the Crone, I was speaking with Joan Matthews, who's 93 years old, has been a yoga instructor for most of her adult life and teaches meditation, and she's a spiritual counselor. And when I asked her, what's your secret to longevity? The first thing she said was good food. So feeding yourself well nutritionally is really the foundation. As much as we are spiritual beings and we're more than our bodies sustain us. Our bodies are our temples, and we need to take care of that. So the stronger your container, the steadier your light. And as I've been referring back to the last episodes 1 through 4, I want to sort of dive in a little bit more in that, because it is part of what I mentioned at the beginning. I'm just so grateful for this experience so far, and I'm actually, it's interesting. I'm grateful for my limited past, because this podcast has only been in existence for a couple of months now, but it really is the result of essentially my entire life, and me finding a great container or a great vehicle for the experiences that I would like to share and that I would like to learn more about. So I'm grateful for the recent past. I'm grateful for my entire life experience. And I'm also very grateful for the present moment, because I'm creating, I'm right here, right now. I'm engaged in putting out this podcast today, even though I will say honestly, I've been a bit down and I had to really motivate myself, but I realized that it was the best thing that I could possibly do, was to share my experiences. And I'm also super grateful for the future. I don't know exactly what it holds, but I feel very strongly that I'm on the right path, and that hopefully I will be able to help people, help women, touch people in a way that they feel that they can share, and that we all evolve together. So I'm bringing it full circle. And I'm coming back into episode 1. What does it mean to contain your magic? So that was my launch episode, where I talked about my personal story and what brought me to launch the podcast. And essentially, we explored how energy stewardship is an act of love, right? It's about self-love. And when I'm scattered, I know my energy leaks. But when I'm aligned, it flows. So containment isn't about control. It's about making a choice and devoting yourself to self-love. In episode 2, The Wisdom of the Crone, we remembered that rest is medicine. Sometimes silence also really brings us a lot of clarity, and endings are beginnings in disguise. The crone taught us that pause is powerful, that stillness is fertile ground for insight. And right now, obviously, I'm just taking a page out of that book, where I am needing this stillness and this rest to recalibrate and to be reborn. In episode 3, The Magic of Doing Nothing, reminded me that Nixon, ease, presence, simplicity is so important. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's nourishment. So that touches on what I was just discussing. And in episode 4, The Truth About Witchcraft, we met the witch as healer, as creator, and energy keeper. Ritual is self-care. Magic is self-worth in motion. And magic isn't necessarily loud, although it is spoken, because words have power, but it is intentional. So it's, where is your intention? And it also touches a lot on, what do you value? And how much do you value yourself? And that's where you truly find your magic. So each guest, each story offered their insight and their wisdom, which I think gave us a beautiful balance in terms of self-care and inspiration in these first 4 episodes, showing us how structure and flow, discipline and intuition, masculine and feminine all dance together to create the wholeness that we call embodiment. These teachings live inside all of us. They're the wisdom that we return to every time life invites us to begin again. And this episode is being recorded just after the new year, so it is an invitation for all of us to begin a new year. And so this brings me to the core message of episode 5, falling into grace. And we've talked about how gratitude can help us to contain our magic, but also how picking yourself up and surrendering to what is can also do that. So the concept of falling into grace, obviously a little play on words. I fell, but why grace? Well, because grace is the flip side of what was going on in my fall because it was the opposite. And sometimes I like to do that. So, one of the techniques that I use in my coaching is the opposites game. So, looking at the opposite of something, whether it be good or bad, again, that's connotative. But for example, say if somebody has a shadow aspect that they're working on, then I often ask, what is the opposite of that? So, for example, if someone was very fearful, then the opposite would be courage or bravery. So I like to take an opportunity with either situations that I've lived or in my coaching to explore what is the flip side. So it's the light side of the shadow. If we shine light on it, what is waiting to be claimed? So when you think about somebody falling down the stairs, it's probably the least graceful thing that you can think of. So I've looked at it in that sense, and I've said to myself, where is the grace in this? And again, the grace is in the stillness. The grace is in the wisdom that one can find from working through the shadow, to retrace my steps, to look at maybe what was left behind because it was the left side of my butt. But, I like to look at the language as well to see what could be revealed. And, and that's a choice too, because some of you may be listening to this and going, come on, lady, you slipped down the stairs. Big deal. It happens. You've got a problem with your, some inflammation, and what you're saying is out there, a bit woo woo. Sure. And you can believe that if you want to, and that's perfectly fine. And it is a reality, and I don't doubt it. But on the other side of it, everything is a choice. So if you choose to look at something a little bit more deeply, to go a layer deeper, if you choose to explore if there is any other meaning that you can get from it, I don't know that that's necessarily going to lead you in a bad direction or a direction that is not useful. I think any time that we have an opportunity to reflect, to analyze a little bit, especially in times where physically we're not so able to move, I think it's an invitation to do that kind of work. So the choice is yours. Take it or leave it. It's all good. I respect everybody's opinion, and I know, because the reason I'm even having this conversation right now, because this is a solo episode, it's almost like I'm interviewing myself. I'm very often a very open-minded skeptic. I say that because as much as I have a willingness to explore everything under the sun, I do have a bit of, okay, is that useful, not useful? Is that practical, not practical? Am I wasting my time? Is this a good investment of my time? So I actually understand both sides of that coin as well. And I'm just putting it out there as food for thought. But speaking of things that make you reflect, so this was interesting. I decided to look into this idea of grace, as I said, and then I went to my tarot deck. So I have a few different tarot decks that I like to use, and one of them is the Angel Blessings Tarot deck. And I like it because no matter what card you pull, you're going to pull something that's inspirational. I'm not interested in doom and gloom too much. So for me, this is a really good go-to deck. And funny enough, I pulled one card out of, I believe there's 50 some odd cards, and I pulled the card of Grace, the Angel of Grace. And I think that's just a little bit more than a coincidence. I don't know how, if you look at it mathematically, what the odds would be, but considering that that was the thought that I had in my mind, and that is the identical card that I pulled, it seems like it's a pretty solid message. So I'm going to read just a little excerpt from the meaning behind that card. Grace can catch you unexpectedly, from time to time, lingering only a few moments, or enrapture you for days, only to vanish again. Its purpose is to awaken your memory of home and urge you on. So that's just a very short passage. If you're interested in looking into those angel blessing cards, I'll leave a link to them in the show notes. But yeah, I've found that these words of inspiration have helped me to heal in a lot of ways, but mostly they're just good counsel. So in that grace catches you from time to time. Sometimes you're in it and sometimes you're not. I feel like using tools like this is a way to bring us home, is a way to recenter, because sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in emotion and to get thrown off balance and lose your center. And, everything is spinning. But when you literally sit your body down, make your hands busy, shuffle some cards, breathe in and out, focus your attention, and then read words that are inspirational. Even if it's a complete crock of shit, okay? It doesn't matter because everything in reality is what you choose. And if you choose that this is your moment, this is your time, this is your message, and that you will take in the best of it and the rest, flush it, But this is truly an opportunity to practice grace. So being thrown off balance and finding your center again, I think is an act of grace. And in somewhere inside of that, of course, there is acceptance. And in that, you become a being that has stepped into the flow of life. And I think there isn't anything that's more graceful than that. And if, like me, you've recently experienced a setback or you've had a series of moments in your life that have made you feel like it's difficult to move forward, then here's an opportunity for you to practice some alchemy, right? Alchemy, what is that? Alchemy is when you take the energy of one thing and you use it to feed or to create something else. So if you have something that creates an emotion, a strong emotion inside of you, then use that. Be with it. Try to not find distractions. Sometimes it's healthy to move your mind away from something if you've been ruminating over it for a long time. But if you're the type of person who feels an emotion and immediately wants to get away from it, then my invitation to you is to sit with it, to stay with it, and to allow it to happen. You're absolutely in your right as a human being to feel. Give yourself a chance to feel, because when you do that, then you will heal. And it is the premise of mind-body healing and wisdom and my coaching practice. So this setback for me, this falling down the stairs, falling into grace, really, it was an opportunity for me to come back to that healing for myself and to come back to that wisdom. So again, what happens in my life, I like to transmit to you. And in keeping with that, what I've learned over the last couple of months of interviewing people, these fantastic guests that I've had on this podcast, is that I've managed to take a little sprinkling, a little bit of their wisdom and their teaching to guide me through this time now. So they're actually it was an accident, but there is no accident. So it really was an opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is, to incorporate, to integrate, and to embody the teachings that I have been broadcasting out over the last few weeks. So I have a little more information that I'd like to share with you about how you can alchemize, how you can transform. I have certain tools for transformation that I've been using. As I mentioned, meditative, looking, reflective. Tarot card is one, but there's so much more. Obviously, I like to go for walks in nature and breathe. Today I did that. I went out with my dog. I sat in the snow. I was breathing. I was connecting. I was truly being in the present moment, and it felt so good to do that. And I have many other practices that I use, obviously yoga as a yoga instructor. Oh, and there's another thing I'm going to segue a little here because it's super important. This was also a very big part of my week. I teach yoga once a week at a local rehab center. And it is one of the most rewarding things that I do because I know why I'm there. I'm there because people are on a healing journey. And generally we all are, but they're very aware of it. Sometimes there's resistance. The yoga class is mandatory. For some people, it's a first time experience. And for some, it can be very uncomfortable to sit still and to look at yourself. But what I'm getting at is that because I need to approach my teaching there in a certain way with gentleness, with reverence for the process, with care for safety, security, and the potential for growth. It helps me to remind myself of that. So when I am responsible for a group of people, even if it's just for an hour, I'm responsible for creating a container for them to heal, a space where they can feel safe. I offer it back to myself. So very often we teach what we need. And this week, especially because I was not feeling it in my body, to roll around on a yoga mat, I did something different. And I managed to teach one part just vocalizing, not demonstrating, and the other participating. But it just brought a whole new level of awareness for me in a state where I had to adapt and also increase my sensitivity. So I believe very strongly that that is another aspect of finding grace within a setback, is you can find strength and you can find capacity within yourself that you didn't know that you had, particularly when you're responsible for other people. I know that my teaching helps me to stay on track. So here's an invitation. If you're somebody who has a practice that you do most of the time, sometimes, or that at least has brought you some joy at some point, some well-being, some relaxation, why not teach it to somebody else this week and see how it makes you feel? See if it doesn't reignite that spark in you. And in keeping with that sort of inspiration, a few years ago, I created a program called the 21-Day Starter Challenge for Embodied Joy. So it's a first step into health and wellness and into meditation, breathing, yoga. It's like a little buffet of wellness topics that we explore together. And I've spoken about it in my previous podcasts because it's a really good entry point for transformation. And with the new year, it is a very good time, of course, because a lot of people want to start new programs. But I would invite you to do it not because it's the new year, but because you would like to choose something better for yourself and that you're ready to give something a try that maybe you haven't tried before. Novelty is a great way of expanding who we are. And so a new year, a new you. Reinvention isn't always the name of the game. Sometimes it's just uncovering layers of things or releasing ways of being or layers of your life or of your reactivity or your emotions or blockages to unveil the real you and who you've always been from the get-go. So that's the deeper look at it. It's a program that helps you start incorporating a little bit of health and wellness, but particularly very accessible exercises in all spheres, like so for the mental, physical, emotional spheres, and that is so not a big burden in your day. It's really a 1 to 10 minute mission that I send you every day that helps you to develop a habit of personal self-care. So that's really the goal of this, is to start to get that habit to say, hey, today I'm going to do my thing. It's for me. I'm going to choose myself. So this is why this program exists. And there's another program, or it's a workshop that I offered, and it's online. All of these programs are online and accessible at any time. And it's called the Yoga Nidra Workshop. So if you're familiar with Yoga Nidra, you'll go, aha, of course, yes. And if you're not, you might be thinking, what the heck is Yoga Nidra? Well, I'll explain it briefly. Yoga Nidra is a method of deep relaxation that helps you to make positive change in your life. So it is a very nice companion to this 21-day challenge. And in fact, there is a little bit of crossover. One day in the challenge, we talk about creating a personal mantra as your guiding principle to help you to manifest things in your life that you want. And it is also a core concept of the Yoga Nidra, and what sets it apart from any other kind of deep relaxation technique is that you're actually creating a personal resolution. So rather than create a New Year's resolution, you create a personal resolution that will be your guiding light for a few months to come. Ideally, you keep the same resolution, which will bring you some energy around something that you'd like to change or transform or even maintain. And it's very effective because it's coupled with all of the somatic techniques. So it's more than just using your mind. It's using your mind, your body, your breath, your nervous system, all in line to achieve the changes that you want to make. So to encourage you to do that, if this speaks to you, then I'm doing a promotion until the end of January. So until January 31st, 2026. If you get the program for the 21-day challenge and the Yoga Nidra, you get 26% off that bundle. So you put both items in your cart, and there is a coupon that you can use, and I'll put that in the show notes. So you just use your coupon code at checkout and you'll get 26% off, and you are good to go. So anyway, I did want to take some time to discuss some other programs that I offer. And I want to also talk more about mind-body coaching, because that is what I do as a coach. I've learned a lot of things over the years, and I integrate them all into how I approach my coaching. But the basis of it really is somatics. So it's about listening to your body. It's about discovering things about yourself through sensation, acknowledging that sensation, and seeing how we can express it, how we can move it, and how we can integrate. So a lot of times what the body feels transmits as a sensation of pain or of pleasure or an emotion of some kind, and we work with that. So rather than looking at transformation from a point of view of let's talk about it, like a cognitive approach, we bring it into the body wisdom first, and then bring it into expression, and then a movement. So I touched on this in my first podcast episode. I talked about how we need movement to integrate because of our survival response, right? Like fight or flight, something happens, you create a stress response in your body. And one way to evacuate that stress is through movement, like you run for your life or you scream or you fight. But oftentimes now in our society, in our relationships, we hold it in, we push it down, we suck it up, whatever it is that we say to ourselves to not be messy, to not be inconvenient. And if this speaks to you, if you're saying, right, like I would like to be able to explore my truth through my body and not have to talk endlessly reinforcing old stories, then mind-body coaching could be a very, very cool approach for you to look at. And as a gift, what I'd like to offer you is a free introduction to mind-body coaching workshop. And again, I'll put all of the details in the show notes. There'll be a link there. You just click on that and you get started. So that is completely free, and it's just a way for you to explore that. And why it's relevant to the other two programs that I discussed, especially at this time, is that there is a goal setting aspect to it. So I don't just approach it like giving you information about what it is, although that is part of it. I also want to make sure that you have an action plan at the end of it. So that is what you'll come away with. It is a long workshop. It's an hour and 45 minutes, but it really is thorough in that you start by setting a goal, and then we test the goal through the body. And we see what comes up. And it's a really, really neat process. So if you've never done it before, you've got nothing to lose. Give it a try. You have loads to gain. And if you want to continue working with me in that capacity, then know that I'm available for private coaching online. And I would be really, really happy to discuss how we could line things up and make your goals a reality this year. I have something very exciting that I want to announce in keeping with that. So we're looking at containing our magic, right? This is what this podcast is about. And containing your magic is a way for you to hold your vitality, hold your spark, your creative fire without burning out. And when we develop the ability to listen deeply to our body wisdom, we're really on the right track to being able to do that. And I had an opportunity recently to put together a workshop around Contain Her Magic. So that is what's cooking in the cauldron this year. Contain Her Magic workshops that I'll be offering at events and festivals. Again, I have more information about that on my website, and I'll put the link in the show notes. It's a really great festival offering if you're interested in empowerment in a way that is sustaining of your continuous energy. It's not just a one-shot deal of, hey, let's feel good for 2 hours and then walk away and forget about it. This really is a springboard into a mind-body coaching, a somatic coaching approach to feeling like yourself again, to getting in touch with who you are as a person, what makes you tick, where your passions are, and to know that whatever journey that you're on is beautiful and okay, and that the story that has gotten you there is the most beautiful, magical story in the whole world, and that you should hold it with care and reverence and be in a state of grace in terms of what your next steps are. And it's a very powerful workshop that I've condensed down into 2 hours. So again, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can contact me via the page that I'm going to put in the show notes. So that brings me then further down into how can I offer Contain Her Magic to more people? The podcast is a wonderful way to reach out and to talk about containing our magic and to share our stories. And I do offer little mini guided relaxation, breathing, visualization, or mind-body coaching practices. But how do I get more people involved on a physical level to really contain their magic and embody their joy? And I have decided that I want very much to launch a program this year in 2026 that will be the How to Get Your Spark Back and Contain Your Magic program. It'll be online, but in real time with me, with a small group of women who are really ready to embark on that journey. And it'll be much like what I described for the event, except we're going to dive so much deeper because we're going to have 8 weeks to work together. So I'll be talking more about that in the next episode because I know that there's a lot to get into, but I wanted to tease it out a little bit for you today by asking you a few questions and seeing if this resonates with you. So first, take a deep breath, center yourself, and as you listen, notice which of these resonate in your body. Maybe one will feel like a quiet yes, or maybe your whole being will light up in recognition. It'll be like a hell yeah. So let me ask you, are you ready to reclaim your light and ignite the spark that's been waiting inside of you? Do you long to move through life guided by your body's wisdom, by its intuition and natural rhythms, instead of being stuck in your mind? Have you carried everyone else's weight for far too long, and now it's time to step fully into your own strength and give yourself the self-care that you need? Are you ready to create from joy, inspiration, and freedom, not obligation or expectation? Do you crave a space where your vitality, your magic, and your power are nurtured, celebrated, and amplified? If you found yourself nodding yes, even just a little, then the Get Your Spark Back, Contain Her Magic program is for you. This is your space to slow down, listen inwardly, and reignite your creative fire. It's for the woman ready to remember her worth, rebuild her energy, and reclaim her joy, sustainably, gently, and unapologetically. If some of these things that I've mentioned here resonate with you, then I truly invite you to go into the show notes, check out the link for this program, and you can click on it. There's absolutely no obligation. What it'll do is bring you to a little questionnaire. It's not very long, and walk you through some questions to see, is this program a good fit for you? And to start having you think about what your needs are. So let's bring the magic of this episode back home. Let's put it into our container. The container that I'm offering you here today is a mini mind-body practice. So before we close this episode, I'd like to take a breath with you, get centered, get grounded, and invite you to come home to your body. Wherever you are, just pause. Take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out through your mouth. Feel your feet grounded beneath you. Have one hand on your heart and one on your belly. As you breathe in and you breathe out, repeat this personal mantra. Inhaling, I am grateful. Exhaling, I am grounded. Inhale, grateful. Exhale, grounded. Inhaling and exhaling, feeling that energy of gratefulness and being grounded at the same time, bringing you to your center, to your home. And from that place, breathe in and breathe out and say, I am ready. I am ready to rise. I am ready to be authentically me. I am ready to choose myself. With every breath in and every breath out, you become a container for the breath and for these intentions. You are the container. You are the magic. So if your eyes are closed, slowly open them now. Stretch a little if that's what your body wants to do. And I also invite you to smile just a little, like the Mona Lisa, just a tiny little smile curling up the outer edges of your lips, and feel gratitude. If you'd like to go a little deeper or a lot deeper with this, then join me for the free Intro to Mind Body Coaching workshop. Again, the link is in the show notes below. As we wrap up, I'd like you to know that I would love to hear from you. I would love to have your suggestions about future topics or guests for the show. And know that you can reach me at containhermagic@gmail.com or on Instagram at containhermagic. You can also reach me if you're interested in knowing more about my yoga and transformational coaching programs at soniabaillon.com. So that's my website, soniabaillon.com, SoniaBaillon.com. As we've explored today, transformation doesn't begin with a new schedule, a resolution, or even a perfect plan. It begins with gratitude, even in the midst of setbacks. Whether it's the little reminder of your body's strength after a stumble, the wisdom uncovered when life slows you down, or the small practices that help you reclaim your joy, every moment is an opportunity to contain your magic. By tending to your mental, emotional, and physical containers, you create space for your spark to shine again. The tools I've shared, from self-care rituals to mind-body coaching, are all invitations to step fully into your power, to reclaim your vitality and reconnect with your inspiration. So, as you move forward, remember, your light is still there. Your spark is waiting. And even when life knocks you off balance, gratitude and presence can be the doorway back to yourself. If today's conversation touched something inside of you, please follow, rate, and share the podcast. Every ripple of support helps this circle to grow, and that is something that I would truly be grateful for. Well, my lovelies, I hope you feel uplifted and inspired. Remember, your fire is sacred. Hold it, nurture it, and let it light your path without burning out. And I hope that you'll join me for the next episode of Contain Her Magic, a sacred space to honor your path, discover your unique gifts, and to unapologetically embody your truth and your joy. I'm Sonia Baillon. Until next time, Burn bright and hold on to your magic.
And return to me. Return.